Welcome to a very dark and gloomy video that I never thought I'd film, but I have so many thoughts and opinions and feelings, and I need to talk about them. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you haven't been here, my name is Jess. As you guys can tell from the title of this video, I'm doing another book review today, but I'm going against my own word and saying that I was only going to be reviewing books that I really liked on my channel. But, however, I'm more so reviewing an author than I'm reviewing a book. I'm gonna be honest, I really liked Ender's Game. I liked Ender's Game a lot. It's one of those books that you read and you're like, I'm trash for this novel. Why am I trash for this novel? It's actually not written that well. There are a few things in this book that I don't like, writing style-wise, story-wise, that I don't really enjoy, and I'm gonna go over those first. And then we're gonna get into why I think Orson Scott Card is the biggest turd on the planet. So first off, starting with this book, it follows our main character Ender, who is a third in a family. Essentially, thirds are children that people are allowed to have because families are only allowed to have 2 children. But his family is allowed to have him because children are sort of bred to fight in this alien war. And I think that's really cool. I actually liked that storyline. However, I did not realize that Ender is like 5 or 6 when he goes to this academy, when he gets accepted into the academy. That's about all I'm going to talk about by way of spoilers. But most people have read this book by this point in time. I am new to the Orson Scott Card scene. I won't be a member of it for very long, I imagine, though. But I really like the story. I like the ending of it. I like the characters. I liked Ender as a character, although sometimes he does some things that I'm just like, why in the hell is that in this book? And I think that plays a lot into Orson. But essentially what this story follows is he goes to a training school in an attempt to learn how to fight aliens. He's incredibly smart. He meets a lot of incredibly smart children because obviously to be in this group, you have to be incredibly smart. Now, like I said, it is a sci-fi novel. It is, you know, set in space. There's a lot of fighting aliens, you know, talking about aliens, things like that. I really enjoyed that. I'm learning more and more that I really dig sci-fi. I'm actually also playing Star Wars online with my husband right now. I really like sci-fi. I'm learning that I really love it. I'm so sad that it took me that long to get into it because I feel like I've missed out on a really, really big world, something that's going to become very important to me. However, I'm incredibly upset that I may have started with Orson Scott Card in my, I don't want to say adult experience of sci-fi, because if I'm correct, this is more of a YA novel. And I just have so many thoughts on Orson as a person, and also pertaining to Orson as a person and how that was reflected in this book. Now, when it comes to problematic authors, I am completely new to the scene. I used to just read books, but not really talk about them, not really discuss them with people, unless it was like a book recommendation from someone or someone let me borrow a book, but I didn't often do that. I tend to just buy my own books. So when my husband, you know, did my TBR and he was like, I want you to read Ender's Game, and it's a book he's been asking me to read for years, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna read it. And then I started reading the comments from that video and people were like, Orson Scott Card is actually a piece of crap. Like, he's not a good human. And you see that in this book. So when it comes to me for problematic authors, I feel like if it is something that really shaped a genre, which this book did apparently, then I feel like maybe it might still be worth reading. Also, just so you guys know, Orson Scott Card does not get any royalties from the selling of these books. I don't know if he gets any royalty from the movie that they made, but he does not get any royalties from the book, because he kind of signed an agreement that he would get like a lump sum for the series because he didn't know if it was going to be super popular or whatever. I don't necessarily know the agreement, but he doesn't get any money from this. So even if you bought this book now, he would get no money. His other series, however, you will. Now, as much as I liked this book, I did not like the bits of Orson that were in this. There's a point in time when his sister Valentine, when they are talking about how she's weak because she cares about people, there's a point in time when the man who brings him to the academy says, oh, girls don't often make it here because, you know, what is it, evolution has worked against them. And I read that and I was just like, the fuck? Like, being a woman in evolution has nothing to do with it. I have read plenty of novels where the woman main character, the female main character, was stunning, was wonderful. Let's talk about Katie from Illuminate. Katie was a complete freaking badass. As much as I don't like Lila Bard was also a badass. Like, there are so many main characters that are female in books that this is just ridiculous to me. Also, it takes place in the future. Why the hell is that even a thing? Like, evolution doesn't work against women. That's not a scientific thing. That isn't something that you can throw in this novel just casually. And there's a lot of that in this book. And as a woman, or just as a reader, that really pissed me off. Just as a humanitarian, there were also points in this book, after having heard about Orson, that I started noticing little things. Orson is apparently incredibly racist on top of being a misogynist. And there's a point in this book, let me see if I can find it, where Ender straight up drops the N-word, and I literally died reading that. I was like, I cannot believe that he said that. Essentially, he calls another kid the N-word and tells his friend, oh, we all can't be the N-word. We can't, what does he say? He said, my dad would have sold him. Let's take a moment. I don't know if they say what year that this takes place in. Maybe I didn't pay attention, but it says the war with the buggers has been raging for 100 years. So at least 100 years in the future from the time that this is written, which could have been 50, 60 years from now. Racism in that form would not exist. We have moved so far from what we used to be, like 40 years ago, even 20 years ago. We've moved so far from that, and I feel like given the option to write a world with or without racism, why would you choose to write it with racism? Also, when Ender said that, that was so out of character for him. The kid that he actually calls that is someone that he considered a friend at one point in time. So to me, it makes no sense to be like, just casually throwing the N-word in there, just casual racism. It's not even, you know, like kind of like secret racism where you have to like really pick apart a book. It's straight up N-word. Like I could not, like I remember having to put the book down and being like, I need to take a second, because if you want to write like a timepiece, like I read, what was it called? The Miniaturist recently. And they call the, you know, anyone with dark skin savages. They call them, you know, the N-word. They call them, you know, but it takes place in like a time when that was normal. Now, that I can understand to a point. I don't like it by any means, but I can understand it. Now, this makes no freaking sense to me at all. If it was such a thing, if it was so casual, why choose to write that into your book? Like, honestly, and no one else feels like that. It's never said again. It's never mentioned. It's just like a jab that Orson had to do. And I remember thinking, like, you're an author and you sit down to write this book. How could you just so casually write that if you didn't honestly feel that way? And I think that's what gets me about Orson is, I know he's like an old man, I know he's like crotchety or whatever, and everybody always says, you know, he's just stuck in his ways, but he goes above and beyond that. He's also incredibly homophobic. He is on, like, what are they called, like panels. He's members of groups that try to make gay marriage illegal, you know, like going against that. He has attacked Obama for being black. He's made tons of racist comments in the past. He's obviously a misogynist, like you can see that purely in his work. I just don't like him as a person, and I wanted to kind of open up a discussion based on that review of how you guys feel about problematic authors, because I know I mentioned this in my vlog, but you know, a lot of people kind of come for just book content and not so much vlog content, so I wanted to make it its own video so that I can look back and read these comments going forward, because I want to be more aware of problematic authors. I still am an independent person and want to make my own opinions, like form my own opinions on things, but I wanted to kind of see what you guys are feeling, how you guys are feeling about something like this, because apparently this is old news to everybody but me. So if you guys have any more information on it, please link it down below, because I would love to read about it. I may read the second one because, like I said, we already own them and I did really enjoy them, and I'm kind of in that internal debate between supporting an author and giving them money, which you're not doing with this series, but then also being like, this man's a piece of crap, but I really like the story. There are bits and pieces of it I don't like, however. And I have heard that the rest of the series is completely different. There is nothing like that in the rest of the series, but if you have information otherwise, please let me know, because I do not want to get into another series and have to struggle through it like I did this one. Like I said, I did enjoy this book. I think I gave it 3 stars. I gave it 3 stars because Orson's a piece of crap and I didn't want his Goodreads rating to be like through the roof. I did take into consideration the things that he said, like, you know, the racism and the misogyny and things like that in this book. So that is what brought the rating down for me. But overall, I really liked the story. I thought it was really cool, but I'm just really sad that he is such a piece of crap, honestly. Like, that actually really hurts. Alright guys, so that is it for today's video. Short and sweet. I'm sorry I have a lot of videos to film today, but I did want to get up another review. I am trying to review books more on my channel, so I hope you guys are enjoying that. But I hope you guys are having a good week, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!